Hello and welcome to the Creating Healthy Wealth and Motherhood podcast with me, your host, PT Morgan of leveragedmama.com. And we're back with episode 6, and today I'm going to be talking about why multiple income streams are realistic nowadays in order to grow healthy wealth in motherhood in 2020. I'll talk about what things used to look like for multiple income streams versus what they can look like now, and what the biggest game changer is that we need to be taking advantage of. But there's also a big threat that you can nullify when you have multiple income streams. You can nullify this threat from day one. What is that? Well, you're going to find out. So when you think of multiple income streams, does it bring up any negative associations for you? Like multiple income streams of work, multiple work streams, heaps of work, working all the time, being overwhelmed, chaotic, really hard to stay on top of. Well, that's kind of how I used to think about it too, and it's no surprise because really this is how it used to be when you wanted to earn more money and your job, your full-time job or your main job, didn't bring in enough for what you needed. So in my childhood, my mum was divorced and working 2 jobs, one during the daytime, full-time, and then one in the evening. And then she was selling Amway on the side as well. So that's kind of like the MLM of yesteryear. So I remember spending heaps of time at her telecom office. That's where she used to work in the town centre. And I'd be playing around on the big cable wheels. I've got really clear memories of this actually. Messing with the spot dog decorations. Do you remember the spot dog that represented Telecom, which is now Spark in New Zealand, a long time ago? Well, these are very clear memories. I had loads of memories made while Mum was at work. In fact, so the job that she had in the evening, it was in direct line of sight from our house. So she could see out her office window to our house. And I think that's one of the reasons she felt comfortable working that evening job with kids, because she was never too far away and she could actually literally see the house. In fact, she told me that years later that she used to watch my sister and I driving her Sunbird, Holden Sunbird, up and down the driveway, thinking that we were getting away with it. We were teaching ourselves to drive. And she would watch us, and obviously she could see what was going on and wasn't too concerned. But Mum was at work. There was also a really key memory I have when my mum was at work and something big happened at home, was an earthquake, a really big earthquake. And during this earthquake, I remember the driveway splitting. It wasn't like one of those big cracks that open up and you disappear into them. It's just like a hairline crack. But this was pretty terrifying. But my mum wasn't too far away. So I guess we were quite lucky in that respect. If we had a mum that was working away from home, but she was close enough for us to shout, I guess. But my mum worked really, really hard, and mostly this was away from home. So this was what it looked like for her. This was in the 80s and 90s, trying to support her young family and having to spend a lot of time away from home at work. For me, by the time I started working, it would have been late 80s, early 90s, I guess. I had a paper run. And I sold Avon, which I didn't really sell. Avon's like a makeup brand that you can only buy from people that sell it, like an MLM as well. And I didn't really sell much. I just bought heaps at the cheap rate for wholesale sellers. But as I grew up, I got multiple hospitality jobs. So I'd work in the mornings doing breakfast at one place, and then in the evenings doing dinner in the restaurant at another. But I'd always have multiple jobs, always away from the home, obviously. As I got a little bit older, just before I went travelling overseas, I remember I had a day job, full-time job at the Westpac Training Centre as a training administrator, and at nights I worked in their TPC, which was the, what's it called, Transaction Processing Centre, which was lots of fun, thankfully, because, you know, you'd work a long day and then go to your night job. But this was all so that I could earn extra money to get overseas and do my OE. By the time I got overseas, having more than one job was just the thing you do. So I was a snowboard instructor by day when I lived in Colorado, and worked in an internet cafe in the evenings, which I enjoyed because I got to email my family. This is before mobile phones and before, you know, you could just get around and access the internet anywhere, before everyone had the internet in their homes. And this was in the United States in the early 2000s. So they were quite progressive, I guess. And I remember looking at their internet plans and thinking, gosh, that's cheap compared to New Zealand, which was exorbitant at the time. But, you know, there was always the more than one job. If you wanted to earn more, you had more than one job. But, you know, when you take that into motherhood, oh my gosh, that just does not work, because you're already, as you know, extremely busy. So that's just not a great option to work. Double the time, you know, more jobs away from home. It's just not going to work. And that's the whole reason Leverage Mama came about. But I think you know that now. But just looking back at those times when we had these more than one job, things were really, really different. And I kind of want to point out how different it was back then, because it's easy to forget how far we've progressed with technology and social change in such a short amount of time. So when my mum worked at Telecom, they, you know, well, actually she started in the toll room, and the toll room, they had to take a cable out and stick it in another one to connect calls. This was a very long time ago. It would have been when I was under 10 years old. Gosh, under 5 years old maybe. That progressed into landlines, which you could just phone people up, right? In phone boxes. Just, I want to make a point here, the internet didn't exist. The internet didn't exist for the public until 1989, 1990. So it was a completely different landscape back then. When I worked in this internet cafe in Colorado in the early 2000s, this was before Wi-Fi really took hold, and 3G and 4G weren't a thing. Mobile phones were not really a thing. Social media did not exist. Can you even believe that even was a thing? Social media didn't come around until around the year 2000, so lots have changed. Since then, and this is where we're going to really start driving home why it's so important for you to be doing the things that I'm suggesting. I'm going to read out a statement from ourworldindata.org/internet. It's a really excellent source if you need to know the rate of change with technology, social media and internet. It's incredible. So, the percentage of US adults who use social media increased from 5% in 2005 to 79% in 2019. Even on a global stage, the speed of diffusion is striking. Facebook surged from covering around 1.5% of the world population in 2008 to around 30% in 2018. I'm just going to let that sink in. This rate of change. Absolutely incredible. But what this means is that you can reach these people who are using the internet and social media. You can reach them from your phone or your computer to their phone or their computer or tablet, and you and they can be anywhere. Wi-Fi, mobile phones, fast internet. This is a huge, huge change. since my mum's day and my day when we were working double jobs. So obviously people and businesses are really onto this. So jobs look quite different now. I mean, think of the virtual assistant. It didn't even exist before online businesses were a thing. Why would it? There was no need. So how we actually create our income has really, really changed. It's this anywhere, anytime, anybody aspect that's the game changer for us and the way we earn income in 2020. So we can use social media to access our customers now just by being authentic, being yourself online and showing the value of what you offer to the people who can benefit from it. That's just really quite a simple sales tactic, is, be yourself, provide something of value, find the people who it would be valuable to, and show them your product and your offering. And this is a really easy thing to do on social media, and I really do think that you already know this. I mean, how much time do you spend on social media? And how often do you discover somebody who makes a great change to your life? You go, oh, where did I find that person? My most recent example would be probably Deborah Murta. She runs the Ketogenic Switch. And I discovered her. I pay quite a lot of attention to how I discover people these days. I discovered her via a Facebook ad. And that just popped up into my feed one day, and what she was saying really made me stop and go, oh, she said something like, when you're losing weight, you shouldn't be exercising. And I was like, yes, I like the sound of that, because I wasn't exercising at the time and I was feeling guilty all the time about it. And I thought, what, I can still lose weight and not exercise? I want to hear what this woman has to say. So she was attracting women like me, who was struggling with exercise, but also really wanted to lose weight. She said the right thing and she drew me into her sales funnel, and voila, I lost 8 kgs in the following months, and I've kept it off. So it's really interesting to me how we come across these people. She reached out through social media where I was hanging out, and she brought me into her sphere, which is really, really cool. So Deborah Murta is a great example of somebody who's earning a lot of their income online, but multiple income streams in 2020 can be a mix of on and offline. So you might have your main job, plus you've got a blog on the side that is generating passive and leverage income from maybe ads and affiliate marketing and online courses. Or maybe you are studying to become a designer and selling digital products on Etsy and teaching others how to do the same thing. How to set up an Etsy store when you're a design student, whatever. And maybe you've got some ebook sales on there or some stock photography sales on there. Maybe you are selling an app, like a Google Play Store app or an Apple app, and have a remote job where you work for a company who is based in a different country. You work online with them. These are all very different ways of working now that have been enabled by social media and the internet. These sorts of things were not possible before. They just were not. They weren't even thinkable. People couldn't. Maybe the Jetsons did. The Jetsons probably thought of it because they're pretty onto it. But the point is, there is going to be more growth in this area, in the area of the internet and social media. The history of the internet and social media, it's only just begun. We don't know what's next, but what we do know is that more and more people are coming online every day. That means there's more and more people that can relate to us and our situations and want to hear what we have to say and like our style, love our Kiwi accents, or whatever it might be about you that makes you unique. So these people, I think it's something like 27,000 people every hour use the internet for the first time. Whoa. I think you can imagine that my mind is just blown right now. I'm a stats girl. I like stats. But there is heaps, right? So these people, you know where they're going. They're coming to social media, so you need to be there to be able to offer them value and exchange that value, rather than having to go out and get a second job and pay secondary tax and all that sort of stuff. On that note, tax, we're going to talk about that soon. Yahoo! Exciting. So there will be more growth. There will be more change. We don't know exactly what that looks like, but the best time is right now to create an online business. I'm pointing at things. You can hear my bangles, and I'm pointing and gesturing. It's right now. I have to drive that home for you. So, cool. I know that I'm pretty convincing about this. But the truth is, I am attracting more and more women who are creating online income streams. And here's me encouraging that. So it would be, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a good thing for me just to encourage you this without maybe giving you a little bit of heads up on the worries that I've had and the threats that have come up in my business that I'm addressing because of the way my business is structured. Because with global reach, with multiple products for sale and multiple ways of earning income, ads, affiliate income, online courses, services, I got paid for using my face in an ad the other day. The income comes from multiple currencies and multiple entry points. I get paid in US dollars, I get paid in New Zealand dollars, Australian dollars. I get paid via an invoice to my bank account. I get paid via PayPal, via Stripe. I got paid to my Sharesies account the other day. So I've got multiple currencies going on and multiple entry points, and these are all sources of passive and leveraged income. So it's so important, regardless of how you earn your income, to keep track so that you can file an accurate tax return. So I have always kept really, really good records, partly because I like to know where my money is going, where it's coming from, so that I can make better decisions. But also I've always been very cautious about that sort of thing. And because I'm now doing something which is quite progressive and quite forward-thinking, and it's, I'm not within the safety of the job where you get paid money after your tax is taken out. And you have one job and the IRD sorts it out at the end of the year if you haven't paid enough or you have paid too much. With me, I've got multiple sources of income, so it's really, really important to stay on track, on top of things with this sort of business, online business. So now I save all receipts digitally, so they'll come in via my email. I will save them into a folder that's sorted into month by month for the tax year. And I use Xero, that's Xero, but I doubt that you need that explanation. I use Xero, which is an accounting tool to keep track of all the incoming and outgoing money. I also have an accountant who advises me, and I will hire a bookkeeper this or next year. If you're wondering, an accountant is different to a bookkeeper. Some accountants do bookkeeping as well, but my accountant looks after the, I don't even know, I might just have to get him on to explain it one day. He looks after all the, you've got GST coming up here, are you doing the right thing with this here, have you got your, are you claiming things in the right way, la-di-da. I can call him anytime I want with questions about tax, which is really important to me because tax can be really confusing. A bookkeeper is, as I understand it, because I haven't really looked into this much, please correct me if I'm wrong, a bookkeeper may do the things like keeping track of the receipts and making sure that the returns get filed on time. with the accountant. I think they're slightly different. But hey, we're going to find out. My point here is don't tussle with your tax department, Inland Revenue Department. Don't tussle with them. There is no point. I'm actually going to read something that my accountant wrote in a recent email, and I found it to be really, really useful stuff, just to kind of just to remind you that you need to stay on top of things. He says, and this is Jason from showmeyourdebits.co.nz, from a tax avoidance point of view, a reminder, please don't do cash jobs. The IRD's new system has access to a mountain of data that can be used to determine if you're not declaring all of your income. They compare your tax returns against all tax returns filed in your industry and against all assets in your name. Have you bought a car and insured it in your own name? Do you own a boat? Been smashing through some credit card purchases and paying them off with cash? IRD knows about it and will compare your tax return to see if the information you provided allows you to own those assets. They also get daily FBOS takings and will compare the FBOS takings against what is in your bank account to determine if all of it is getting banked and more. However, even with all that technology, the most common method for getting caught is through someone dobbing you in. If you're not a Kiwi, that means, how do I explain it in non-Kiwi terms? Telling on you? Narking? So as I've said before, cash jobs are a big no. Thank you, Jason, for your input there. So how that relates to my situation is, so take, for example, the payment I received via my Sharesies account, which is a really good idea. But now I'm like, how do I declare that income? So as I said, I already keep good records, which is really very, very lucky. I've just discovered how to hook up my Stripe and my PayPal account to my Xero dashboard, it's a little bit icky sticky at the moment because I'm trying to figure out which are duplicates, which transactions need to be transfers and which are duplicates of those, what's the original one. So yeah, it can get a bit yucky. But this is why I have my accountant and I can call him and go, oh my gosh, have I done the right thing? Because even though I've got good records, sometimes all the data and the obligations can really feel a bit mind-bending. But the thing is, this is a part of doing business. If you want to have a business, you don't get to hang out in the safety of having a job and not having to deal with this. You are a business person and you have to deal with business things. There's many benefits, obviously, to having a business in terms of financial and fulfillment and all sorts of stuff, but you do have to take care of the due diligence stuff like tax and accounting. So if you recall, my longer-term business goal is to grow my business to generate multi-millions of dollars. At that point, I'm going to become very, very interesting to IRD. So I want to be sure I've done my due diligence and that I know for certain that I've kept up with my obligations. That's just absolutely not something that I want hanging over my head. So while my business is small and growing, I can spend the time getting my head around the different things and making sure I've got the right, everything set up properly, that I'm declaring everything, staying on top of it. When a new income stream starts to come in, that I'm on top of it, that I make sure that it's declared in my Xero dashboard, in my Xero account. So that is, feels like a bit of a downer to be talking about tax in that way. However, it's just what we've got to do. If we want to be wealthy business owners, we need to deal with things like tax. I'm sure you've heard bad stories about people who have not dealt with their tax obligations correctly, And knowing from personal experience, knowing people that have run into a tussle with their IRD, they, they've got a lot of resources behind them, so you will not win. Just don't even think of going there. Declare your income. Just declare it, okay? If it feels hard, that's what you got to deal with. You say, thank you, universe, for this money, and now I'm going to do the right thing. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. So, a recap on what we've talked about. Firstly, so the world has changed, but we can take an advantage of different opportunities now, and that's what we should be doing as mums. These opportunities that allow us to create income streams that are home-based, so important, that allow us to create multiple income streams without us having to be in 2 places at once or 3 places at once. We've got millions of customers or potential customers who are accessible via social media now. Thank you very much. We've got, we don't have to have a day and a night job just to increase our income. We've got a mix of online and offline options. There's going to be more growth, so we've got to be ready, and that means getting our online income streams underway now, not later. But with new ways of earning and the changing world of technology, we still require good tracking. And the final point was, do not mess with your tax department. Just don't, okay? I would love to know what your takeaways were from this episode, and if it has helped to trigger any thoughts in your mind of, oh, I need to be tracking that, or oh, do I need to talk to an accountant or get some advice or something. I really hope that, because an online business is quite different from a traditional brick and mortar business, we do need to be thinking about things in a different way, and as mums building online income streams, we've got to be on top of it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've listened and enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review on the podcast. This will help other mamas out there who might need to hear this discover the podcast. If you want to join us in the Facebook group, Creating Healthy Wealth in Motherhood, come on in and have a chat. I'd love to get your feedback, your questions, and to get to know you. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time.